Tales of Veldrith, written and produced by Matty Taylor. Book 2, The Lens of Power, Episode 22, The Eternal Balance. The winds howled as the group descended from the Sunforge, their mission incomplete, but their resolve stronger than ever. The shattered fragment's energy had dispersed into the ley lines, the immediate threat neutralized. Yet as Vestinus, Eira, and Leona trudged back toward Jorvik, the weight of their victory felt hollow. They knew the cult would not stop. There were still other fragments of the Auroral Lens scattered across Veldrith, and each one was a step closer to ultimate destruction. When they returned to Jorvik, the city greeted them with a mix of relief and apprehension. News of their victory at the Sunforge spread quickly, but the shadow of the solar cult's ambitions loomed large. Father Aldrich met them at the gates, his face pale but resolute.
"The council is waiting for you,"
he said, his voice tight with urgency. In the council chambers, Vestinus stood before the gathered elders, recounting the events at the Sunforge. Eira and Leona flanked him, their presence a silent testament to the sacrifices made. Elder Hrothgar shook his head, his expression grim.
"You've destroyed one fragment, but at what cost? The ley lines are destabilized, and the cult remains a threat."
"They're weaker now,"
Eira countered.
"Without Solaris, their leadership is fractured."
"They'll find another leader,"
Ingrid said, her sharp eyes fixed on Vestinus.
"You know this, don't you? The cult's beliefs are too deeply rooted to die with one man."
Vestinus inclined his head.
"You're right, which is why we can't stop here. The remaining fragments must be destroyed. Only then will their power truly be broken."
Hrothgar sighed.
"And how do you propose to do that? The Sunforge was a singular opportunity. There are no more forges, no other places of concentrated power."
Vestinus's gaze hardened.
"There is another way."
That evening, Vestinus gathered Eira and Leona in his study, the flickering lantern casting long shadows across the room.
"You sounded confident back there,"
Eira said, leaning against the doorframe.
"but I don't think you have a plan."
"I do."
Vestinus said, his voice low. He opened a heavy tome, its pages filled with faded runes.
"The fragments draw their power from the ley lines, but they're also bound to a single origin, the place where the Auroral Lens was enchanted. If we can sever that connection, the fragments will be rendered inert."
Leona frowned.
"And where exactly is this origin?"
Vestinus pointed to a map spread across the table.
"It's called the Valley of Radiance, a hidden basin where the ley lines converge in their purest form. The lens was empowered there, and it's where the cult will go to complete their plans."
Eira crossed her arms.
"Then we go there first. Stop them before they can regroup."
Leona smirked.
"Sounds suicidal. I'm in."
The journey to the valley was the most grueling yet. The group travelled through jagged cliffs, dense forests, and barren wastelands, following the faint trails of energy that led them to the heart of the ley lines. The closer they got, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air shimmered with heat, even in the cold of the highlands, and the ground hummed faintly beneath their feet. When they finally reached the valley, it was as if they had stepped into another world. The basin glowed with an ethereal light, the convergence of ley lines creating a surreal landscape of floating crystals, radiant pools and beams of energy that arced across the sky. At its centre stood an altar of golden stone, ancient and pristine. And waiting for them was the cult. The remnants of the solar cult had gathered, their ranks bolstered by new zealots. At their centre stood a robed figure, holding a staff crackling with golden fire. A new leader, one who had risen from Solaris's ashes.
"You've come to witness the ascension of the lens,"
the figure said, their voice echoing unnaturally.
"You cannot stop the sun's will."
Vestinus drew his blade, its crimson glow cutting through the radiant haze.
"The sun has no will, only the ambition of those who claim its power."
The battle erupted in a storm of light and shadow. Cultists charged, their weapons glowing with energy drawn from the valley. Vestinus met them head-on, his strikes precise and devastating. Eira fought beside him, her blade carving through the chaos with deadly efficiency. Leona darted through the fray, using her agility to disable the cultists' defences.
"I'm starting to miss the days when I just stole things,"
she shouted over the din. At the altar, the new cult leader began the final ritual, their staff channeling the valley's energy into a golden orb suspended above the altar. The orb pulsed, growing brighter with each passing moment.
They're completing the lens.
Eira shouted. Vestinus turned to Leona.
Disable the altar. Eira and I will handle the leader.
Leona nodded, sprinting toward the altar as Vestinus and Eira engaged the cult leader. The figure fought with terrifying power, their strikes infused with the raw energy of the ley lines. But Vestinus' centuries of experience and Eira's unrelenting determination proved too much. As Vestinus drove his blade through the cult leader's chest, the valley trembled violently. The orb above the altar flared, its light blinding. Leona reached the altar, her hands flying over the ancient mechanisms.
This thing is rigged to blow.
She shouted.
Whatever you're going to do it now.
Vestinus stepped toward the altar, the shattered fragments of the lens glowing faintly in his mind. He could feel their connection to the ley lines, their pull stronger than ever.
There's only one way to sever the connection,
he said, his voice calm. Eira's eyes widened.
No, you don't have to.
I do.
Vestinus interrupted.
The ley lines bind the fragments to me as much as they do to the valley. If I channel the energy back into the origin, I can destroy them.
Eira grabbed his arm.
You'll destroy yourself.
Vestinus smiled faintly.
I've lived longer than most. It's time I did something that matters.
Before she could stop him, Vestinus stepped onto the altar, his blade glowing with crimson fire. He plunged it into the golden orb, unleashing a surge of energy that consumed the valley. The fragment's power flowed into him, and with a final deafening crack, the orb shattered. When the light faded, the valley was silent. The cultists had fled, their power broken. Eira and Leona stood at the edge of the altar, their faces pale with grief. The altar was empty, Vestinus was gone. Back in Jorvik, Eira stood atop the city walls, gazing at the horizon. The Sunforge's glow had faded, and the ley lines had returned to their natural state. The Auroral Lens was no more, its fragments reduced to dust. Leona joined her, silent for a moment before speaking.
He saved us all, didn't he?
Eira nodded, her voice steady.
He did.
As the sun rose, its light bathed Jorvik in a warm glow. For the first time in months, the city felt at peace. But in the quiet, Eira couldn't help but wonder if the balance Vestinus had sacrificed himself to restore would hold. For now it was enough. Thank you for listening to The Tales of Veldrith. Books 1 and 2 are now available in paperback and on Kindle. Visit mattytaylor.com for more details.